Welcome back to our special series that we're doing with the Purple Rock Podcast. I'm John, my co-host is Andy, and we are breaking down every season of Survivor in order to compile our Survivor rankings. This week, we have on Chelsea, a returning guest. We're going to talk about 3 returnee-based seasons with Chelsea. Chelsea, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on again.
And we're going to start with a very recent season, Blood versus Water. You had it ranked, and I wish I had written this down. I think you had it ranked third?
I did.
Okay. So it was third on your list. I tried to get everybody at least one of their top 3 to discuss. And tell us why it's third on your list, first of all.
I really liked Blood versus Water because it was a fresh gimmick that actually worked out well and actually changed the strategy. And it was a really fun cast. I loved the personalities this season. They had a really good chemistry, especially the mischievous Tyson, who I wanted to win, but it wasn't totally obvious to me until the last couple episodes. So that was kind of a rare thing when I watched Survivor. It also got my least favorites out of the gate right away, Rupert and Colton. And Redemption Island didn't actually totally suck this year because of the way they went about it with the Blood versus Water gimmick. And just really great tribal councils. That's a big part of Survivor enjoyment for me.
Well, I was hovering over the hang-up button just in case you said anything bad about Tyson. Luckily, you passed the test.
I love Tyson.
Like about the time when he might have made the dumbest mistake in the history of Survivor?
I'm hanging up on you right now.
He redeemed himself.
He absolutely did.
In a very
this
big
is why
way.
I'm okay with them bringing back almost anybody, because anybody could be blah or flawed a few times and then come back and be great, except for the people that are horrifically terrible, and they should never bring those people back, and they will.
Yeah, we'll talk about them at some point very soon, I'm sure. So, speaking of bringing people back, since we're talking about 3 different returnee seasons tonight, I figure I'll throw in some casting rumors, because I find this fun. We're all Survivor nerds, so the ones that I found, and, these are on the internet, so they're totally true, and you can't question them at all. Blood versus Water, this is going to shock absolutely no one, but Amber and Rob were invited for this season and declined.
I imagine Rob has a standing invite for every season. How about now, Rob? How about now?
Yeah, don't worry.
No, I'm going to try another reality show.
Your Boston Rob is worse than mine.
That's not possible.
I think Malcolm inherited that spot, though. Malcolm has the standing invite now.
And he and his brother were invited for this one. Would have been 3 in a row.
Perfect transition, yes. So Malcolm was asked back. He admitted this himself, that he was asked back for a 3rd straight season with his brother, but he declined. The craziest casting rumor that I found was Greg from Survivor Borneo, the very first season. Was supposedly him and his sister. There's very little evidence for it, but again, it's on the internet, so it must be true. But I thought that was probably my favorite casting rumor.
Dang, that would have been awesome.
I know, I would have been a very big fan of that one.
What's tough is if they did do Boston Rob, or I guess Ethan Jenna, I'm not sure about the timeline, whether they were still together, or Eric Jamie. That means wouldn't one side have, a returnee? Or would they have...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like how that would have worked. I mean, they would have... If they would have gotten Rob and Amber, they would have found a way to make it work. Yeah, sorry, Amber, you're basically a newcomer. It's like, I'm a champion. What are you talking about?
I'm a millionaire because of this show. So the other rumors, Suri and Terry, both considered for this season, supposedly. Although I'm a little dubious about Terry's claims, because apparently he thinks that he's been invited back to just about every returnee season. The other person who also thinks he's been invited back to every returnee season is Scoopin.
Well, he wasn't wrong that one time.
The one time he was not wrong. He says he was invited to this one, or considered, I should say, for this one as well.
I suspect how that goes is casting casts a wide net, especially for a season like this where they also have to find loved ones and that sort of thing and mixing and matching. So they probably call people up. Hey, what's his name? Would you ever consider coming back? We're like, oh, you bet. No, are you calling me right now? I was like, oh, no, calm down. Don't call us. We'll call you.
I heard a rumor that Sister Nina was considered.
Yes. So Rob C. and his woman were supposedly considered as well, and I think actually basically chosen, but then she got pregnant, so that kind of prohibits you from starving out on an island, at least if you want the baby to actually survive. So, sad joke. Let's move on. Shane was also asked back with his son. And
Boston? His son Boston?
This is the most Shane explanation ever. He didn't submit his paperwork in time.
I buy it.
Me
I'm
too.
calling that one true.
Me too. Once I read that, I'm like, okay, that one's legit then. Quickly, Troyzan claims he and his brother were the alternates for the season, but they didn't want too many people from one world. Who wants Troyzan back, though, realistically?
Well, I imagine Troyzan does, and I could see him being a Probstian man crush type. He really had to clutch onto somebody that season because all the other bras were taken out early, and it just became a chick fest, which had to hurt Probst's feelings. So, yeah, and I bet there's a segment of the internet that was into Troyzan too. They just aren't on our show tonight.
Well, I would say that why would you bring him back? But they were going to bring RC back, and I don't think
she was literally brought back. She was on the island with her father.
Yeah, she was actually going to be on this season, and I think it was 2 days before the show started. They medically removed her dad, said it wouldn't have worked out, so they flew in.
Candace.
Flew in Candace and John, exactly. The fun twist that this caused was that supposedly they were going to do blood pairs versus water pairs, which makes total sense numbers-wise if it had been RC and her dad. So I'm going to call that one legitimate. But
what?
So we would have had 5 married couples / dating couples, whatever, and then 5 brother sister, mother daughter, those sorts of pairs.
So it would actually the title would have made sense because it never made sense to me before.
Right.
It's I don't think they understand what blood and water or blood is stronger than water means.
Yeah, no.
Maybe they did.
I think they
wonder
did,
if that's what we're going to get this time. You're breaking news here, John. Do you think maybe this upcoming season, which is the sequel to this, maybe they'll try that. They'll actually have people that are of actual blood relations and then people that aren't. And they would have had to break the news to Rupert that his wife isn't technically his blood.
Unless, of course, there's something we don't know about them.
I suppose it's possible, cousins at a certain level is legal in many places.
Or they could just call this season Survivor Blood and Water. Because,
and they mix oh wait, that's a different substance.
Yeah. No.
Let's think about all these casting rumors. You could sit there and think, well, this would have been better, this would have been better. Anybody would have been better than Colton. And regrettably, the Caleb, who's no longer with us. But what made this season great really wasn't the returnees as much. I mean, Tyson delivered the goods. Jervis, I think, was a surprising presence. Aris was a good middle of the season type character. But it was the family members that made this season. That's why it was a great season, because they really cast well on that side.
Agreed.
And not only that, but we already mentioned Aris and Jervis, but they brought back Tina. So they had some reaching way back type candidates. And I like that. I like that they brought in the early season people. And according to Probst, that's a thing that they want to do much more regularly. And I think they probably will.
Yeah, well, if you look at this season and the season right before it, Caramo, which, I think we should talk about sometime. It kind of shows they'll just bring back anybody. For All-Stars, those were, for the most part, the biggest names of the first, 9 seasons, and Amber. And for Heroes versus Villains, again, some of the biggest names. But even with fans versus favorites, they tried for bigger names and then kind of rounded out the cast with people that might not have been as big names, but were significant, like Amy or Eliza. But now it's just kind of hey, sure, why not Monica Culpepper? Why not, these other people? And sometimes they hit on people and sometimes they miss.
Well, that's the other thing, is that they brought back Kat and Monica basically to get their other halves.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Colton, I don't understand the Colton casting thing, unless, he was just brought back to be the villain or whatever it was. I realize there's the, quota gay guy spot that you have to fill, but they have had so many better gay guys they could have brought back.
Yeah, this is not a show that shied away from that. I mean, they typically only have one per season, unless they just didn't know, like in Cook Islands, but yeah, you have a deeper bench if you're trying to film the demographics than one of the worst people that have ever been on your show from one of the worst seasons ever. So it's not like hey, we gotta get back and get some of that One World magic going. And apparently they thought that, because they cast 3 people from that season.
And there was a gay on Cook Islands.
There were 2. They hooked up.
Oh, well, we'll save that for a later podcast.
I'm like the gossip monger here.
Apparently so.
Everybody, Chelsea's gonna go to her Google after
Survivor.
And we're gonna have you write like a column, all gossip about Survivor.
Anyway.
Okay, so with basically every season we're asking 4 general questions. If we happen to cover it earlier when we're talking about the season, I'll just kind of skip over them. But we'll start with question number 1. And 1, I guess. Let's go with 1. What was the biggest highlight of the season? And Chelsea, you go first since you're the guest here.
Yeah, well, it has to be the rock draw, right?
Oh.
And Hayden's forcing Sierra to switch sides, and that how close Tyson was to just getting out of the game.
So you think that your rock drawing selection will go over well on a podcast named after the initial rock draw in Survivor history?
Am I pandering? the white rock?
I know. Oh. It was a near perfect moment, but those bastards didn't color the rock properly. Similar along those lines, I was going to say, yes, obviously it was the rock moment. You're right, Chelsea. You win. But, maybe it was just, this was the first season that an enormously popular and successful podcast started talking about Survivor. Maybe that's what made Blood versus Water so great.
Or it was the drawing rocks thing.
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah. It's kind of a 1A, 1B situation.
It's almost symbiotic, really. I mean, we must have known something was up when we decided to finally, do this thing. And that's because we could just sense it from the universe. The rock is coming. The rock is coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And question number 2. And I'm hovering over the hang up button, Chelsea.
Oh, no.
Who was the defining player of this season, whether that person won or not?
Colton.
I mean, she's not the best player, but she definitely made a lot of big decisions. Sierra.
And click.
I know, sorry. From voting on her mom to switching sides with the rock draw, she was a big integral part of a lot of those tribal councils.
Boo. Andy, what do you think?
Sorry about it.
So, kind of getting back to my earlier half-jokey point, but, we spent most of the season debating Sierra versus Tyson because we each took sides. Mine was fairly random. I just picked her and it was a fantasy pool and then had to convince myself. I think the answer is Tyson. Obviously, he controlled the game. He got a lot of the narrator vote. But to Chelsea's point, this could have easily become Redemption Island, the season, not the gimmick. If it wasn't for a Sierra keeping things interesting on the other side. Because really, Tyson dominated from Aris out on. But because Sierra was kind of this unpredictable element, trying to push back, always too late, but trying, it kept the season interesting. It gave us the Purple Rock moment. It gave us voting out her mom. It gave us, trying to flip an alliance together. It was enough doubt or excitement cast that this wasn't just a foregone conclusion like, Rob's coronation season was. So the answer is Tyson, but maybe Sierra's the number 2.
Damn. So that's my exact answer. I said Tyson, but I will grudgingly admit that Sierra is the second best answer. So question number 3. How well did the season's Twister gimmick work? We've kind of already covered this. I'll start. It was, like Chelsea said, it was one of the more game-changing gimmicks they've done. We talked last episode about the 3 tribes thing really forcing people to make up a new game plan, but this kind of had the same effect just because people didn't really know how to game plan for it. So it sort of spurred some more interesting gameplay. Early on, people figured, hey, here's an idea. Let's get out someone's loved one in the hopes that they'll jump into Redemption Island for them. The only person that worked on, predictably, was Rupert. But no one really knew if the strategy was to go lone wolf or to have your partner with you the whole way. And now we have a very small sample size to tell you go lone wolf. Andy, you agree?
Yeah, so the question is, how well did the gimmick work? To your point, I thought it worked pretty well. There's a caveat that I'll get to, but yeah, because there was other emotional ties right off the bat, there were different stakes this season, and that was really interesting 26 seasons in, that there's a new way to think, and you're right, everybody was trying to play catch-up. The unfortunate part is they were also trying to play catch-up with returning players. And predictably, the returning players caught up faster. The one flaw of the Loved Ones gimmick is they weren't able to capitalize on it enough. Like, by the time they finally got to a swap and then a merge, there were only 3 pairings left. So for most of the season, we never really got to see family members interact, except for, some jousting, between the Buskauskas brothers, or lots of crying at the Redemption Island Arena. This is just the way the cookie crumbles. There's not much they could do about it other than maybe doing a swap earlier. But I'm hoping, because it did actually deliver some new and interesting drama, that I'm hoping this next time that they do it, we get to see some of the family members together a bit more than we did here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the swap should have been way earlier. You should have had more pairings. But I thought what we had, the 3 pairings, was actually really interesting because it added a whole new level of strategy. Are the people that still have their loved ones a threat? Should we vote them out? Should we vote our own family members out? I thought that was just something we hadn't seen before, and it was really interesting.
Well, to be clear, 2 of the 3 pairings were interesting, yeah. Tina and Katie, not so very interesting. But yeah, and it was what could have been a potential strength for Aris having Vitas there actually ended up, sinking him perhaps even earlier than it would have been, because they weren't going to turn on each other, no matter what John thought they might in the preseason. And they became the power couple that everybody needed to break up. And Tyson and Jervis were both free to play a more traditional Survivor game in the way that Aris never really could, because Vitas was there, and vice versa. And I think Vitas kind of bristled up against that. He wanted to play a little more cutthroat, but Aris is like, no, bro, we got this. They say bro, and I'm saying bro a lot tonight.
Let's go do yoga on the mountain.
Exactly. So I'd love to see Vitas again, untethered from this, but it was interesting to see that dynamic, and not so much maybe the dynamic that the producers were pushing on us, these are brothers that fought and are estranged and all of that. I'm not really into that stuff because it's too close to feelings, but just the strategy part where, Vitas actually had a better grasp on what was going on than Aris, was pretty interesting.
Well, we should ask Chelsea, because presumably she has feelings. Did you think the family ties and bonds and emotions and stuff, did that actually make the season more entertaining for you?
Yeah, it did, because I was wondering how much they were playing from the heart and how willing or how cutthroat they were willing to be. The sociological aspect of this game is really fascinating to me. So it was just another layer of the psychology.
Again, it didn't do much for me. Although it was funny because I was watching the season with my wife, of course, and I was like, yeah, I would have voted you out on day 3. It really bothered me. And she was like, oh, I would have gladly gone home on day 3. So that would work out well.
But Tyson cried, and you had to do this for...
That's the...
Would you break up because you didn't make the merge?
Well, that I would do. That only makes sense. But, yeah, they had to give the winner's edit to Tyson, and that has to make him likable, which Tyson's, I like him, but he's an acquired taste, Don't try to emotion him up.
Yeah, I thought that was a little, tacked on.
Yeah.
I have to do it for Rachel. I'm like, no, just do it for... you're not.
No, Tyson is an evil snark bot, and that's what's fun about him.
So here's a question for you, John, that we probably talked about a year ago, but is this your favorite Tyson or your least favorite Tyson? On one hand, he actually played well and won. On the other hand, he was watered down.
Yep, I would then say that he's my least favorite. Well, I guess Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah, because he was
least favorite.
Yeah, there wasn't much of him, and then he was very stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just too bad because he was in a really great position.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I actually am also interested in the sociological aspects. Even though I'm not necessarily comfortable when they mix feelings into my strategy show, I find it interesting from, like a mental standpoint, just kind of like seeing what happens to people. And then if, they could just write a report that, they cried a lot without showing it to me, that'd probably be better. But yeah, and I did find that really interesting. That's why early in the game, Redemption Island didn't bother us as much because of those family interactions, because of, the Hayden tricking Kat into believing that his decision to stay was about them. Brad Culpepper, yelling at his wife. These were just interesting moments that you don't get to see. And then by the second half of the season, of course, Redemption Island became the albatross it always is.
You're like the robot that watches the show to learn about human emotion.
That's right.
You're just taking notes. So when humans are sad, they cry. 010101.
Must learn. And then, cataloging it. So when they finally do the Survivor Canada edition, I can be like, that's how I'd manipulate that emotion.
Oh, that would be the most boring show ever.
God, it would be so bad. I mean, I don't even watch. We've done Big Brother and Amazing Race, apparently. That I get, although Amazing Race is great because they just have you drive around Canada. But yeah, Survivor Canadian edition, it'd be like season
apologize after every tribal.
Yeah, yes. I know. It's like, oh, geez, man. I don't know what that's about.
So sorry, eh?
And it would just be like in the deep woods of BC or something, and the challenges would be like sawing logs for lumberjacks, and then the rewards would be like season 1 Borneo stuff, like people fighting over a soggy piece of pizza.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a Canadian chain, but I probably avoid them.
Tim Hortons.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hortons Coffee. That'd be the grand prize.
Yeah, you get the watered
get all
down.
the roll-ups to win you can.
All right, let's stop alienating the Americans listening here. All right, final question. What was the biggest flaw of this season, Chelsea?
I'd say Colton. Ooh. Just having him on the show.
Solid answer. Andy?
Well, that's hard to disrupt. Colton's kind of like one of those nuclear options. It's like, Colton's like, you win. But, no, it was Redemption Island. For the reasons that Redemption Island always sucks. We'll get into it a bit more, later this podcast. But.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But it's a momentum destroying gimmick that just does nobody any favors. Like we said, this is the season that it worked best, and it was still a problem. And it's like they could probably, and hopefully they will, because this very next season they were going to have Redemption Island, and then they changed their minds at the end. Hopefully they can find ways to drum up that interaction and that, drama across tribes without, destroying the essential nature of the show, which is somebody gets voted out at the end and they are gone.
Well, I hate to agree with you, but I do agree with you. And you just spoiled the fact that next season there is not going to be a Redemption Island. So, spoiler alert to anybody that's listening.
That somehow listens to off-season Survivor podcasts discussing both seasons of the show, but doesn't follow the news about Survivor very much.
Good point. All right, so let's
That'll
move
be
on.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I was like, woohoo, I'm interested to see Blood versus Water without returnees. Because that would be the other flaw. And I'll write on this a few times throughout the summer, I don't think fans versus favorites is a very successful concept. So I was interested to see family member scenarios without returnee advantages. So we get that, but then I was like, we get Redemption Island too. And then, woohoo, no Redemption Island!
So, fans versus favorites, you said.
Yes!
That's a beautiful transition into the... Chelsea, you're going to have to tell me where you ranked this one, because again, I didn't write it.
Let me look.
I think it was 5th.
She had it
5th, yes.
I did my homework.
Oh, good for you, Andy. Way to take notes.
I have my Gmail open on my iPod.
Like the robot that you are, taking notes. All right, so yes, Caramo is the other season we're going to discuss. Chelsea had it 5th. Tell us why, Chelsea.
Yeah, so before the season, they announced the favorites. I'm sure, like a lot of people, I was just as worried. I was like, who? I didn't know half of these people. But what I really liked was it was just an interesting combination of personalities, and a lot of them were very different than their original seasons. And I guess I'm biased because I love Cochran and Malcolm. So I love seeing Cochran redeem himself, and I loved his narration throughout. And it was just like a really fun post-merge game. And I just love Malcolm. Seeing the two, him and Cochran go head to head was just really fun for me.
Well, I mentioned that we're going to do casting rumors. This is a short list, so we'll get through this quickly. Probst actually confirmed this himself. There was 2 names that he wanted to bring back, and one of them was Matt the Jesus from Redemption Island. We'll talk about him very shortly. And Shambo from Samoa. They both, according to Probst, again, straight out of the horse's mouth, turned down offers to come back because they wanted to put Survivor behind them. I wouldn't have mind seeing Shambo come back in Dawn's spot necessarily. I know you'd be opposed, Chelsea, because Dawn's your girl.
She is.
So the other casting rumor, actually there's really only one other, Stephen Fishback and Tyson were both supposedly offered as well. Obviously Tyson they brought back very shortly after. So they didn't bring back Stephen or Tyson, and yet they cast Brandon Hance as a favorite. And also Phillip, although I didn't really mind the Phillip casting as much as some people did.
He was kooky, but I didn't hate him. I think it was just because he, instead of in Redemption Island, he was trying to be the leader, and then it would just jump cut to Cochran shaking his head, and I would just crack up. So I didn't really mind. He was just kind of funny.
Yeah, he wasn't painful to watch like Brandon was.
Yes.
Yeah,
and like I said, I like the post-merge game.
Yes, Brandon led to a lot of cringe-worthy moments.
Well, it's just like the show got lucky in the end. Like, as bad as Brandon was, like, this should have been like a series-threatening type mistake. That's how close they got. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's not like they could never say they didn't see it coming. Like, the kid is not there, and he should not be on a show like this. And he demonstrated that without a shadow of a doubt the first time around, and they decided to go back to him, empower him further. Like, why? Just so he could stay in the good graces of the Hance family? If that's the case, just bring back Russell.
Yeah, the writing was very clearly on the wall with Brandon being crazy. So I don't know how you can deny that one. Again, the between Brandon and Colton being brought back, I kind of feel like it's an intentional, hey, we're trying to get a hated person brought back. But just like in Blood vs. Water, Brandon's gone pretty early, which really helps this season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then they did it in Micronesia with Johnny Fairplay. It's like, quit trying this. Every time you keep bringing back these disastrous villains, these villains that are disruptive to the show, they generally amount to nothing other than bad things. 2 of them quit, and actually 3 of them quit, right? It's just one of them almost, fought one of your contestants on air. Like, this is not an element you need in your show. Let villains happen organically. Don't try to, bring them back. If they were bad the first time around for production, of those, Fairplay was probably the best for production. But it's like, you got everything you were going to get out of the Colton and, Brandon Hance experiences the first time around. You don't go back to that well. And hopefully they've learned that.
Yeah, that's what I put as the flaw.
Yeah, we can skip ahead to that because it's Brandon Hance. We had to mention his name.
And if I want to see crazy people go crazy on TV, there's a million other shows I could watch. That's not why I watch Survivor. So.
Exactly. That's my complaint with bringing him back. That's not the type of show that this is. Like, we're not watching for that quote-unquote reality show element. It's not what I was going to call it, Desperate Housewives. I don't even remember what it's called. Some Housewives.
Kardashians?
Sure, that one. I don't know. I don't watch them. But yeah, you're right. Biggest flaw of the season was basically Brandon Hance. And that also led to the reunion thing. They didn't put the pre-merge boots on stage because of Brandon Hance.
Yeah, who they
I
had
forgot
to bar
about that.
from
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so he wouldn't again hurt Phillip. And it's just like the great villains of this show that they cast what Chelsea believes to be the best season in the history of the show. She had Heroes versus Villains ranked number 1. We've already discussed that. Many people actually believe that. None of those people were Colton, Fairplay, Brandon types. They were connivers. They were strategists. They were people that might say funny and mean things about people in confessionals or to their face. They're not insane. They're not people that destroy the game due to their actions, which Colton clearly did in one world when he got his tribe to go, to tribal council, which, Brandon changed the path of his game by giving up his immunity. They had 2 people on this returning cast of people who gave up immunity and got voted out for it. Think on that for a second. You don't need them. Sometimes they happen, and when they happen, often those seasons are bad. We talked about Nicaragua, and the defining player that season was Neaka, who they knew what they were getting when they cast him. Cast Tonys, don't cast Brandons.
Chelsea, have you seen Micronesia, by the way?
Yes. That was her number 2 show. Do some homework, John.
I told you I didn't have it written down this time. So, did you think that Eric was deserving of being brought back this season?
You know what? I didn't think a lot of people were deserving of being brought back this season, and Eric, he didn't really do much this season either.
No, it was
so no. I guess is my answer.
Like, he was the final fan eliminated. No, I guess he was the second to final, right? Because Natalie,
crazy Natalie,
still around in Micronesia. But I think a theme behind these returnees, which they may never once called this season fans versus favorites, because they knew they'd be pushing that pretty hard when they've cast Brandon, Philip, and let's not forget Francesca, who that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
It was more like these people who we could bring back, and then if there was a theme amongst them all, besides maybe Malcolm, is, ironically, amongst the shows we're going to talk about tonight, Redemption. These were people that were getting a second chance after some kind of memorable failure in their past chance. So there's no more memorable failure than what Eric did in Micronesia.
Right, and so that was basically my reasoning of saying, like, if you're going to bring back, you're basically trying to make this a fans versus favorites too. He's the one to bring back because he had a very, very memorable moment from that season. And, again, Redemption, he gets a chance to redeem his mistakes. He's older, wiser, supposedly, now.
That's a good point.
Turns out he was worse this time around than he was.
He was.
And Micronesia, he's a 22, 21-year-old kid who's just awestruck and hero worshipping all the people that are on that cast. This one, he just basically tried to not play the game of Survivor, and people kept thinking that he had a legitimate chance to win, and I'm like, what are you guys seeing? This guy is not here, until he just literally wasn't there anymore. It's like, we're going to take him out in the cold open of our finale. That's how much he matters.
Getting really mad at the end.
Yeah, he's like, oh, why is this happening? Because it's Survivor, dude, and you, gave up all of your control in the game. Kind of like the last time you played.
Well, we already discussed the biggest flaw of the season. Let's talk about the biggest highlight of the season. Chelsea, what was your favorite moment of the whole season?
Stealth R Us.
Really? Oh, okay.
The Hold Up Bro Tribal Council. I don't
solid contender.
Usually laugh out loud when I'm by myself watching television, but I actually paused the TV and just cackled at the screen at the moment. Beautiful Malcolm. I love him. So funny.
Andy, what about you?
Yeah, it's a toss-up between Hold Up Bro and then the Three Amigos one that followed up. I think it was the very next episode, or if not, one right before it. Hold Up Bro, I think, for one, it was just more shocking because it happened first. And it was just like, what? Is he really doing this? Like, he has an idol. Why is he taking another one? Fantastic. I might have applauded again. But the Three Amigos final tribal council was also just dumbfounded. It was like, is this happening? Like, nobody knew what to do. They were openly why don't we vote out Andrea? Why don't we do this?
Whispering right behind Andrea's head.
Yeah, but she's too busy whispering to somebody else. I don't even think she picked up on it, right?
Nope.
Now, ultimately, the Three Amigos didn't do their best play there, but, Malcolm had about 15 minutes to put that plan together with two of the, let's say, not brightest characters in the history of the show. So, yeah, I'd say they're tied. And that's why people rank this season highly, I think, is two reasons, and Chelsea mentioned both of them in her argument.
Malcolm.
Cochran was delightful, and the post-merge game featured a series of very interesting tribal councils. largely until Malcolm went, because he was the one engineering it. One that, isn't the best moment, but along that thread was the very first tribal council post-merge when they voted out Corinne. Because they had the plan, and they were ready, and then the other tribe was going to do the vote split thing, because they've been doing that. Philip was very big on vote splitting. And then Corinne screws it up, and all these things flip back, and it was just like, oh, let's just vote out her, I think it was. So
sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of episodes like that where it was a lot of twisting and turning. It's what you want when you have all-star type seasons, is advanced level gameplay, which brings me to actually what my flaw of the season was. I mean, Brandon Hance is an obvious answer, but my flaw is don't muck up your all-starness with returnees or with non-returnees, with new players, because what new player in this entire season really brought anything to the table besides Reynolds throwing things at things?
Oh yeah, Reynolds was very good at throwing things at things. If they ever have Survivor throwing things at things, he's going to win that season. He's the odds-on favorite.
Yeah, but other than that, they were all basically either duds or fodder, right? And it was just like, we got enough out of the people we are actually interested in that, yeah, at the end we felt pretty satisfied for a season. But, we had to sit through Shamar and, Hope and Allie, which they were the same girl.
Guys, don't talk bad about Allie. She's in casting now.
Well, no, I mean, she probably doesn't feel great about her time on the show. She would have been amazing if they would have been a normal season. Normal season, Allie wins 10 out of 10 times.
Good cover.
Eddie was the champion amongst the non-returnees. They were duds, and it's not even almost their fault. Like, what can you do? The other tribe knows what they're doing. They've been here before. They know how to act when you're hungry. They know how to build a shelter. And meanwhile, new players in that scenario just do what new players always do. They find people they like. They war against other people they don't like. There was nothing good coming out of that. Sherry was probably the most strategically sound player, and her big strategy was to, team up with the worst people on the island and alienate the other people, which is not good Survivor.
Chelsea, if you had to pick one newbie from this season that was the best, who would it be? If they had fans versus favorites 3 and you have to bring back one of those people, who's it going to be?
I guess Reynolds.
Yeah, that's probably the right answer, and it's very sad commentary on who they had this season.
And what's tough
I would have rather seen...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I honestly would have rather seen just Survivor mediocre players instead of the
exactly. What
an inspiring title.
It's kind of what it was.
Second chances or something. Call it that. But it could have been all-stars at this level, amongst which, besides Malcolm, who was like, hey, want to come back tomorrow and play Survivor again? The ones that they had actually planned and cast, the biggest name was Cochran, a guy who was an interesting storyline in his first season, but was by no means good. But other than that, it's kind of mediocre players, and they delivered a good season of Survivor minus Brandon.
They did.
If they did 20 of those guys, it probably would have been really great, especially because there wasn't a lot of star power. That often gets kind of, a problem in all-star seasons for some people, where people have big heads about things. I actually like that element. It's fun to see them, the big heads, get their egos shrunken down or blown up.
More interesting things for your robot notebook about human behavior.
Exactly. Just bring in the middle class and see what happens. And then characters obviously Cochran delivers on a big scale. Andrea was nothing in her first season, which we're going to talk about, and was probably the second best player this season. Or Malcolm, who, he's a star, but that was the carryover. He had, I think, 10 days off between seasons. So the biggest flaw is an entire half of the game basically didn't matter.
So we've talked about so many players now. Let's talk about who the defining player of this season was. And Chelsea, you can go first on this one, too. Sure.
Obviously Cochran was great, and Malcolm made a lot of good moves. But I'm going to stick up for my girl Dawn here, because she's honestly, as Cochran's sidekick, the reason so many of the votes went the way they did. Because you just cannot trust Dawn. She will betray you, and will get the blame. But she was Cochran's sidekick, and the reason he was able to win.
I did not see that coming. Even though I knew that you're a big Dawn fan, I did not see that one coming.
You know who else didn't see things coming? Anybody who talked to Dawn and ended up getting gone. That's what happened. Talk to Dawn, you get gone.
Well played.
I think I quoted that this season, but I think, you might be onto something, Chelsea. Like, Cochran was the star. He got all the great edit. He got the best quotes, probably because he gives the best quotes. But a lot of times he was able to just kind of lay back in the cut and wait for the move that Dawn presented to him. And then he didn't have to do much else because he also knew that Dawn was digging herself further the whole time. Like, he had a pretty sweet setup because of her.
Yeah, she was the one that actually made the emotional connections, and then he was the one that got to benefit from them.
Yeah, so when, non-emotion bots like ourselves, John, play, we need to find our Dawns.
That's a good point.
Find your Dawn.
Find your Dawn.
So she could go out there swimming and grabbing teeth and stuff, and you could just be like, all right, we're voting out your teeth partner.
Grabbing teeth no, she didn't grab the teeth.
That was a first-time player, right? Brenda was great. Oh, wait, yes. No, she was actually on a season before.
Okay, so who's your defining player then? Are you actually going to agree with Dawn?
No, it's Cochran.
Oh, really? See, I went with Malcolm. I would actually say Malcolm number 1, and then it's a tough call for number 2. It's probably Cochran, but I could even see Andrea being the number 2.
Yeah, I just think this season took Cochran's personality, again, because he probably got the most minutes. I mean, Malcolm was eliminated on day 30, so there was still a lot of game to be played at that point. And also, Malcolm was kind of marginalized a bit because he was the new kid on the block, right? As much as, a Malcolm could be marginalized, because even then, Corinne clung to him pretty quickly, because she's not stupid. And then, he formed the three amigos and all stuff. So he was doing stuff, but a lot of times he had to do stuff because the returnees had this, lock solid spies are us, or stealth are us. Sorry. I can't believe
You're thinking of a movie.
And also, if you believe certain segments of the internet, this entire season was engineered to get John Cochran a win.
I roll. Okay, I had to say it out loud because you wouldn't have seen me do it.
Speaking of seasons that were completely engineered for another player's win, a few more questions here, don't we?
There's only one. Actually, we could really skip over it because we've almost discussed it. How well did this season's Twister gimmick work? I mean, fans versus favorites, there's precedent for it being a good idea. As you kind of mentioned, I don't really think that this was necessarily favorites. They didn't do a great job on the fans thing either. It was pretty clear that guys like Reynolds and Eddie had never seen the show. So the concept is kind of a lie. I think that's why they generally call it Caramoan rather than fans versus favorites too. You guys disagree with that in any way?
No, fans versus favorites is a half good idea. The favorites. And, spoiler alert, when we talk about it, I'll be making the same complaints about Micro Naisha, the most overrated season in the history of Survivor. Boom.
Ooh, shots fired.
Yeah.
I do still like Chelsea's mediocre players idea, though. That's a great title for a season.
Yeah, and that's something like fans like us would like to see. Let's bring back people that were eliminated before the merge. Those poor, undateable suckers.
I just watched Survivor Panama, and I have to say that Misty is not an undateable sucker.
No, well, and again, I think they've kind of formulated that different. The rules are different for women, right? They just become more dateable for people that wouldn't have had a shot with them beforehand. Because, we all have our favorites that didn't do so well beforehand. Whereas the Joe average CBS watcher needs the big names, but not us. We are sophisticated enough to appreciate the Don Means that they give us.
We're just a better class of fan.
I think so. I think that's what I'm saying. Everybody who listens to this podcast is far superior to anyone who doesn't.
Chelsea, any final comments on the Twister gimmick before we move on to the season that you couldn't stand?
I think it's all been said.
Okay. So, let's talk about that season that you couldn't stand. We've already kind of spoiled what it is. It's Redemption Island. You did not have this ranked in your top 10.
If she had only seen 10 seasons of Survivor, she still would have found a way to rank this 11th, I think.
I saw more than 10 seasons. Yes, as not the biggest fan of Boston Rob and watching Survivor, let's just let Boston Rob win already. I just found it really boring, and I honestly don't remember a lot of it. I was looking at the cast list when I was preparing for this, and I was like, who are these people again? Just Boston Rob's goons that followed him the whole way through. And also it started Redemption Island, which should automatically put it at the bottom for that reason alone.
Yeah, and we've beaten the Redemption Island horse to death already.
It's not dead yet, or even if it is, that horse needs a few more kicks.
The thing I hate most about it is it took away the reward challenges, which to me are like the most fascinating social aspect of seeing who will pick who and who's going to get offended by, someone getting picked for something else. Yeah.
Especially in the post-merge, because that's when it becomes the individual game, and you get a lot of that, what you're talking about, the who's picking who, and those sorts of things that will offend people. It's fine, I guess, to lose it pre-merge, but yeah, you're right. Once you get to the post-merge game, Redemption Island it takes away reward challenges, which are really fun to watch at that point. Nobody? Really?
Yes.
You nailed it.
Okay, thanks. All right, so as I mentioned, we'll do casting rumors. This is going to be nice and short. Scoopin, of course, claims he was asked back for this season. Seriously, if you go down the list of casting rumors,
Scoopin. There's no way. This season was Russell versus Rob the second they talked to each other in the Heroes versus Villains post game, whatever that is, reunion show.
Actually, you're so wrong. It was Hatch versus Russell, but Hatch couldn't leave the country, so Boston Rob is the easy fill-in.
That again is also not true. This was Rob versus Russell.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
It was going to be Hatch versus Russell, which makes total sense. And then they set it up like, okay, Hatch can't leave, so Boston Rob makes the most sense. And then they slide Boston Rob into that role.
I just don't, the whole season was set up for him to win. I just don't understand how he couldn't have been first pick, but... Maybe
you mean like your precious Caramo was set up for John Cochran to win?
Stop.
No, if it was her season, it would have been set up for Dawn.
Well, it was. She just stirred it all up.
Yeah, so...
So, John, how do you feel about Redemption Island?
Well, hang on. There's one more hilarious casting rumor, and that's that it was going to be Eric. Who they did bring back for fans versus favorites too. So the potential pairing of Eric and Scoopin. Oh yeah, Eric and Scoopin.
Stop.
Seriously.
Stop. It was never.
I don't believe that at all.
No, but again, it's on the internet, so it must be true. So yeah,
it's going to be Eric versus Brandon in the battle of people who gave up their immunity.
Yeah, and this was basically set up as the. Boston Rob versus Russell thing. They did all this stuff at the reunion to try to get you hyped up for the idea of those two going against each other. Mm-hmm. And then Russell's tribe throws a challenge to get rid of him. But it's not like, they were up by 4 people. It was the 3rd immunity challenge. I went back and looked it up. The 3rd immunity challenge.
I was a little annoyed because, I'm not a huge Russell fan, but at least it made it interesting if him and Rob had actually got to do their little thing, but
I don't get the fear. Like, you think Russell's going to go team up with Rob?
No, just be on the same tribe and see him fight.
No, I'm saying, Russell's tribe, why get rid of him so soon? Are you worried that he's going to team up?
No, there's a very legitimate reason to fear Russell Hantz being part of your tribe. He was in a 3 versus 6 minority in Heroes versus Villains, and then he was in a final 3. He's not a guy you let hang around. And part of the problem that the villains ran into is they went on a win streak. There was never any time to vote him off, and then suddenly he had idols, and Tyson was itchy to vote out Parvati. And then suddenly he was almost winning the game. Having Russell, and then just having him around camp. He's going to burn your effing socks and dump out your water. Like, he's a guy you just don't want around. So,
Okay.
I support throwing the challenge. Was it a week early? Probably. But it's like, that's one more week for him to find an idol because,
Okay,
stupid.
well, to squash that right now, because Spelling Bee champion Ralph actually found the idol.
Yeah, but
So
he
they
didn't
have
tell
to
his
worry about it.
alliance that until they were sitting there watching Russell at a Redemption Island. If Ralph had just said to them, guys, don't have to worry, I got Russell's idol right here.
I think he said exactly that, and they didn't understand him.
Maybe. Then, yeah, maybe they're like, okay, well, let's just win this one and get rid of him next time. But yeah, there's a real fear of having Russell around that he'll screw up your game. So yes, you get rid of him the earliest opportunity you can. And if that opportunity doesn't present itself, then I guess you have to make it.
Chelsea, if you're on this season, do you throw the challenge?
Yeah, what they did was smart, but as a viewer, like, I just checked out at that point because I'm like, oh, Rob's winning this.
Well,
So-
see, here's the other problem is because of Redemption Island, the biggest flaw of the season,
Yes.
is you need to do it earlier if you're worried that Russell will have a chance to go on this run and come back. Like, voting him out once isn't enough. You have to do it twice, potentially. So I think that controlled a lot of the gameplay. So people think that everybody was just engineered to let Boston Rob win. I've heard that opinion expressed somewhere recently.
From this side of the microphone?
Yes, that might have been it. It was sort of like a voice in my ear. But I don't think it's that simple. I think what it is that he had an idol. He was the most experienced player. And, like, Rob is useful to your alliance, right? Like, he builds shelters. He helps you win challenges. He, helps at camp. Russell is destructive. So, like, you want to keep Rob around for a while no matter who you are, right? The villains wanted to do it. Like, you could be in a tribe of all-stars, and they will concede to Rob's will, as we
Except he's,
saw
like,
in a
fainting
season
all the
called
time.
All-Stars. But I think they were afraid to turn on him too early because Redemption Island was right there. Or even if they wanted to turn on him, there was a threat in Redemption Island from people from the other side, the other alliance, right? It's like, oh, if we vote out Rob now, then maybe we're setting it up for Marine Mike to win the game. So it's like Redemption Island encouraged even more timid gameplay from a bunch of people who were newbies and probably, worshiping Boston Rob in the first place. So it's like, even if they wanted to turn against Rob, they had the fear of the idol, they were probably awestruck by his presence, they needed him to a certain degree, and Redemption Island made it that much harder to do so, which is why Redemption Island was such a terrible idea.
Chelsea, tell Andy why Boston Rob sucks.
Are you a Boston Rob fan?
He is my favorite player of all time.
I don't hate it. He's a really great player.
No, bring it. I know people don't like him.
He's just very egotistical to me, and I just don't like the way Probst, his unrelenting worship of him, just kind of grates on me.
I will second that. I actually do like Boston Rob as a player. I don't want him back again, but it's beyond a man crush with Probst and Boston Rob. It's just like true love. It's like the movie The Princess Bride should just be Boston Rob and Probst just yelling as you wish at each other.
Let's cut that short. Yes, I believe that Probst loves him as much as you are saying. I don't know if Boston Rob feels similarly for Probst.
You think it's a one-way street?
Yes, I think it is. I think Rob's like, hey, cool. That Probst, I got him around my finger. Is that getting any better? No? But yeah, I think it's one-sided. I think Probst is a big jock sniffer when it comes to this. I think, Rob likes him enough. Maybe has had him over for dinner if he was in wherever Florida that he is for tax purposes. But, because
Rob's in Florida?
Yeah, that's where him and Amber are making their brood.
Sure.
So actually, I've never found out. How do you feel about Rob, John? Like, you just said, I kind of like him as a player, but, like, do you let Probst's opinion of things, like, influence yours? Because I don't.
The obsessiveness of Probst towards Boston Rob actually makes me dislike Boston Rob more than I would just on his own. Like I said, I like Boston Rob as a player. I actually think he's really, really good at the strategic and social elements of the game. And to an extent, the physical elements too. He's a pretty good challenge player too.
Especially since challenges have become so puzzle heavy.
Yes.
So here's the thing about Boston Rob. He's somebody who is like uniquely suited for competitive reality TV, which means that like in any other generation, any history, another piece of time, he would have no avenue for these unique blend of skills. It's like he's like was made for this time period only, and if he was born like 20 years ago, he'd just be a construction worker or something. But it's like, yeah, he's like,
I think he was a construction worker.
That's why I picked him.
Oh, okay.
But yes, he's fit enough. He's, handy enough to do things like that. He, has the spatial recognition to do the puzzle things that competitive reality shows like. He can talk about himself and talk about scenarios in entertaining and braggadocious ways, which, is two guys we just talked about do that. Maybe a little more charming if that's what you're into, but that's what makes Malcolm and Cochran also very interesting.
Oh, Cochran doesn't tend to brag about himself.
He does. He just uses deprecation, but don't deprecation is the tool of the skinny. It's not the tool of somebody who's actually thinks of themselves that way. Take it from somebody who uses deprecation. John Cochran has a very healthy ego, and don't get it twisted any other way. Or at least, post South Pacific, John Cochran does. And then, he's devious. He understands how to use people as pieces in a game, which is, of course, what competitive reality is. So, yes, I don't think I'd ever enjoy having a conversation with Boston Rob is one thing. Although, hey, if you want to be on the podcast, come by. But as a person on these TV shows, I think he works great. But to your point, I don't need to see him ever again either.
Yeah, I think we can actually skip most of the questions here because obviously he's the defining player of the season.
Yeah.
We know what the biggest flaw of the season is. And of course we know how well the twist or gimmick worked because we hate Redemption Island.
Yeah, and then Boston Rob versus Russell was a
non-starter. Didn't actually go anywhere.
That's actually a lesson. Anytime Survivor tries to engineer these things, it's not going to happen. The game makes its own rules and makes its own decisions. For all the people who think that this show just engineers results, that it's all production, they would have found a way to keep Russell in the game. And the way they did, obviously, was they hoped Redemption Island, and he was out his very first time at Redemption Island. Russell Hantz was the second person eliminated from this season. They can't engineer things. They lose interesting players early and boring people stick around. It's how it goes.
So, Chelsea, I have a question for you. How many of the Boston Rob seasons have you seen?
I think all of them.
Have you seen Marquesas, though? His first season?
No, I did not see his first one.
Okay, so 3 out of the 4.
All Stars.
And then Heroes versus Villains, obviously.
Yep.
Okay. So what was your favorite version of Boston Rob?
Probably Heroes versus Villains.
Really? Despite going home so early?
Maybe
because. The antagonistic of him. I liked him and Russell kind of fighting it out, and I wasn't really, I don't know. I kind of liked the romance when I was little about the All-Stars, but not so much now.
Yeah, it gets a little overwhelming there, too.
Yeah.
But it actually worked, like ABC has like an entire franchise based on bringing people together, and then Survivor actually did it properly. Mm-hmm. And they've had like 10, 15 babies since then or whatever.
No, I'm happy for him.
So, I guess it was legit.
You are the walking Survivor gossip mag. You really are.
Really,
yes, knowing that Boston Rob is married to Amber and has children, that's some deep stuff.
That's the only thing you've known about Survivor relationships.
But yeah, it seemed like it was forced down our throat and engineered, but I guess it was real. Who knew?
Sure. I will, Andy, you're going to love this because I know one of the biggest complaints that is leveled at this season is that, Boston Rob, it was just handed to him. It was too easy. Here's my half-hearted defense of Boston Rob in this season. Basically, he was set up in 3 of the 4 seasons he played, and he was pretty close to it in Marquesas. They took him out at the right time. But, we already discussed in Heroes vs. Villains how well he was set up. All-Stars, he probably should have won, but everyone was way too pissed at him. And then this season, he didn't really change up his game all that much, and realistically, could have won 3 times.
Yeah. I think, you run the seasons that he played, with the exception maybe Marquesas, when he was just a little too young and immature, that, yeah, he probably wins more often than he doesn't. So this season, I will concur. It is a lesser season, even though, my favorite player of all time won, and he did so playing a perfect game. I've fault the players he was against less than other people do. People say they were a bunch of nothings because they amounted to nothing, but that's what happens when a dominant force is playing against other competition. When the Miami Dolphins went undefeated in 72, we'll say. Did everybody else?
Job.
Yeah. Was every other NFL team just terrible, or were they just that good? When the 96 Bulls ran through the NBA, the other teams were good too. They just weren't as good, and and it happened in the very next season with Kim. Superior players make other players seem inferior. Andrea turns out
Kim is a better player.
You'd argue that Kim is a better player than Rob?
Because she managed to do it in one season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Andy is going to hang up on you right now.
I know, sorry.
No, I'll listen to that argument. I'm a huge Kim supporter. I would say her victory in One World was more impressive than Rob's victory here. Yes. But again, I'll say that, Boston Rob All-Stars is also almost as good of a play as this one, except he didn't win. So I don't fault him at all that it took him 4 tries. It's just the nature of Survivor. Sometimes you draw the proper rock. Sometimes, swaps go your way. There's a randomness to this event. What was the best moment of the season? When it was over and we got to start a new one? Or?
Well, no, because next was South Pacific.
When Russell Hantz was voted out? That was kind of fun.
I just wrote, Rob's performance, but really I think the highlight for me was Ralph's spelling. That was the best part of this whole season.
I did kind of like the vote of Matt the second time.
Yes.
I put that down.
Yes. Well, when he got him back in the game and immediately took him back to Redemption Island. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably the actual answer. That's the correct answer. The suffering of Matt, the Christian Bible thumper, Jesus stand-in that they were doing. And this is his final arc, and this is the first time Redemption Island. Oh, he's fought back, kept through every challenge. He's back in the game, and then Rob's like, let's vote out Maddie again. That was
a good one.
Yeah, and that was fantastic, and it was also part of Rob's masterstroke, and why sometimes the game is won and lost much earlier than you think, and basically Rob kind of won then. That was when there was a threat. That's when people like Matt and Andrea could do something against him, and no, we're just going to get rid of that wild card following, the Christie play. I think my favorite moment of the season, though, which just kind of encapsulates why I like Rob as a TV personality, is when he threw the clue into the volcano. And I think this is why Probst loves him. This is why the show kept bringing him back. This is why The Amazing Race brought him back and had him on. He creates moments because he understands how reality TV works. He knows what production needs to create a scene. And again, Cochran does as well, Malcolm. And some of it's just, innate. And he delivers. This is just a simple interview of, there was a clue. I found it. I don't need it, but I had to hide it. And he found a way to make it entertaining. And that's why ultimately I don't hate Redemption as much as probably I should, based on what was happening, is Rob found a way to make a lot of it more entertaining than it necessarily was for me.
And you're wrong.
I respect your opinion.
That said, there's 28 seasons of this show. It's certainly in the 20s.
Yeah, it's real deep on the list. We'll cover that where exactly.
And I haven't seen Nicaragua, for example. So.
Oh, lucky you. Yes, we'll save you the time. Don't. Seriously, I feel like just intervention on everybody that hasn't seen it. No, you don't understand. Don't. It's not awful, but entertainingly awful. It's just awful.
Yeah, this isn't The Room, people. This is 16 hours of terrible television. That's what we're talking about here.
No one should endure it. It's really bad. But we already covered that, so. All right, let's wrap this up, Andy. First of all, thank you, Chelsea, for coming on the show and sharing what little thoughts Andy would allow you to get in.
Well, thank you.
And let's tell them how they can get in touch with us, Andy.
You can follow us on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. You can send us an email at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. You can leave a comment on our blog, purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com, or Skype us, JR Purple Rock. Nobody ever does that, though.
Oh, I know, it's disappointing. I like when we get voicemails, but people just prefer Twitter, basically.
They know that I'm going to edit down their voicemail just to let myself talk some more, so they're like, why bother?
You know what? Sound logic on their part then. Speaking of Twitter, though, I asked Twitter which of there's 3 seasons I have left to watch, 2 of which I have available, Fiji or Gabon? Yeah, that's the one. So I asked Twitter which one I should watch. Ended up in a perfect tie, and I said, "Oh, I'm tied. Anyone want to break the tiebreaker?" 2 people responded, each side of that. So I'm going to let Andy break the tie, and I'm going to watch Fiji starting tomorrow. I just knocked out Panama, so by the time we get to the end of this, I'll have seen every Survivor season finally.
What's the 3rd season that you haven't seen?
I actually think
Vanuatu, right?
I think I might have actually seen Vanuatu. I've just forgotten just about all of it. So
yeah, all you people that were voting for Gabor, you're wrong.
Gabor.
God, we'll talk about that season later, and yeah, it'll be kind of like talking about Nicaragua. Chelsea, did you see Gabon?
I'm not.
Good. Continue. That's how you can have That's how you can have a hate for Redemption Island, is by skipping Nicaragua and Gabon and Vanuatu. Yeah, that's right. I hate Vanuatu too. Come at me.
Ooh, I know at least one person who's going to come at you for that.
Yeah, I don't even know why she listens to this show.
All right, so that's it for this week. Next, actually, I'm not entirely sure who we're having on next, but we're going to cover either 3 or 4 seasons with the next person we have on. So again, Chelsea, thank you for joining us. Andy, thank you for coming on my podcast to trample all over my points. And let's hear some theme music.